Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Wednesday, July 24th. Definitely some changes coming across the Great Basin here the next several days. Today we will still have a large area of showers and thunderstorms across really the western half of the Great Basin. Up north is where we'll see a mix of wet and dry or some drier storms moving across central Idaho today, along with an increase in winds. These areas in the orange are winds above 25 or 30 miles per hour with low relative humidity. So you can see we are seeing some breezy winds start to move into the north and west starting today. These storms down south, again, will remain on the wetter side and will be quite extensive as far as lightning today, probably our most active day for lightning. This will also continue into Thursday over central and eastern Nevada and areas further east, and again, mainly be on the wetter side or a mix of wet and dry. But we will see an increase in winds up in central Idaho tomorrow with wind gusts above 35 or 40 miles per hour, along with that low relative humidity. And these gusty winds tail back into northwest and western Nevada, but will be just a little bit weaker than what we'll see across Idaho. Breezy winds continue on Friday in the north and west and also start to increase over southern areas, with probably the strongest wind day in southern and central areas of the Great Basin on Saturday. So definitely expecting some holdovers, along with pushing any new or emerging fires or our current incidents. Precipitation over the last 24 hours, we had quite a bit of lightning over the southern and western areas of the Great Basin, not quite as much up into Idaho and Wyoming. Very spotty precipitation in most areas across Idaho or northern Nevada into parts of Utah with only a few hundredths of an inch reported. However, some of these darker blues here in southern areas and western areas of the Great Basin definitely saw more than a quarter of an inch. Yesterday, we had 26 fires for just over 296 acres across the Great Basin, and you can see the new fires in the red circles and the existing fires in the yellow, with our large fires and team fires in our purple and open circles. Over the last 7 to 14 days, again, any precipitation has been confined mainly to the southern and central areas of the Great Basin with the thunderstorm activity. Very spotty elsewhere, but we have had some good amounts of rainfall at times with these thunderstorms over parts of the Sierra Front and even a little bit further north. But still, the drier spots, certainly over the last 7 or 14 days, have been into Idaho, where some areas have not seen any precipitation, and also over parts of northwest Nevada. And the ERCs represent this well. Obviously, our most critical areas up north, where we're seeing ERCs above the 97th percentile in areas that we have not seen any precipitation over the last 2 weeks. But still, many areas, just due to the spotty nature of the precipitation, are seeing ERCs above the 90th percentile still over much of Idaho, northern Nevada, and even into central and eastern Utah. Some of our ERCs up north, where our ERCs are most critical, obviously seeing those near record ERCs, but they will be coming down just a little bit with some cooler temperatures. However, winds will be increasing, so really no relief expected for Idaho. Further south, we have seen ERCs come down, but they will be increasing again in the next 7 days due to drier and windy weather. Satellite image from this morning shows the strong high pressure with that moisture trapped underneath the ridge for much of Nevada into western Utah and Idaho today. The next player, however, is this trough over the Pacific Northwest, or entering into the Pacific Northwest. That will move east, pushing this high pressure and the moisture off to the east in a few days, but also increasing the dryness and the windy conditions across the Great Basin, along with bringing some cooler temperatures. So for today, more of the same, just wetter thunderstorms and quite a bit of lightning expected for Nevada, up into Idaho and western Utah. The only high risk we have is up into central Idaho, where those storms will be moving a bit faster, be a mix of wet and dry or on the drier side, and have gusty outflow winds. Otherwise, again, you can see wetter conditions, which will damper some of the fire danger over southern and central areas of the Great Basin. Winds will mainly be just to our west today and will be affecting us tomorrow. Relative humidity will remain a little bit elevated, obviously in areas we have thunderstorms, and you can see the gusty outflow winds being the big threat with this lightning as we move through today. Temperatures will drop a little bit in the west, still remain hot up north for 104 in Boise and above 100 degrees for northern Utah. And you can see the thunderstorm predictions here from our model, again, quite extensive, similar to the coverage we saw yesterday across the western half of the Great Basin, and a little bit more spotty, faster moving, drier type storms up in central Idaho, which have already seen a few showers this morning. As we move into Thursday, the trough swings through the Pacific Northwest, pushing some moisture out of mainly the Payette. So we are seeing drier, windier conditions for Idaho. So we do have high risk to mirror that, along with those drier, breezier conditions down over western and northwest Nevada. So again, any ongoing incidents, expect an increase in winds with drier conditions, and certainly could see some holdovers as well. Still plenty of moisture over southern Idaho into eastern Nevada and Utah and Wyoming for thunderstorm activity. And again, you can see a lot more yellow on the map for Utah. Relative humidity also will be quite elevated over central and eastern Nevada and points further east, but starting to dry out in northwest Nevada. RHs may not be significantly lower yet in central Idaho as these winds pick up, but due to the strength of the winds, still a concern even with RHs in the 20% range. So expect that, and then obviously the drier, windy conditions in northwest Nevada and along the Sierra Front. Temperatures will again continue to decrease. We'll see most valley locations below 100 degrees for the first time in many days, and down near 112 in the south. And then obviously still extensive thunderstorms over central and eastern Nevada, up into southern and eastern Idaho and Utah. For Friday, the drier air starts to continue spreading eastward, keeping those breezy winds over Idaho into western Nevada. So again, keeping that high risk, just especially with the lightning we've seen recently, and then still lower fire danger further east. Friday, you can start to see those relative humidities dropping into the single digits over northwest Nevada and back into the teens across Idaho. And you can see the wind gust generally in the 30s over much of Idaho and then down into northwest and western Nevada. And you can see the increase in winds begin over southern Nevada, the Arizona Strip, and southwest Utah, near where some of our large fires still are. And then temperatures continue to drop a couple of degrees on Friday, more low to mid 90s for valley locations and around 111 for Las Vegas. And you can see definitely thunderstorm activity on the downward trend, but still enough moisture for isolated storms over eastern Nevada into Utah and up into Wyoming and eastern Idaho. The 3-day precipitation, definitely a good amount of precipitation in some spots with these thunderstorms across Nevada into Utah. So this will be welcome relief, at least temporarily, and even up into western Wyoming and eastern Idaho. But again, for central Idaho, northwest, and parts of western Nevada, really on the lower end of this precipitation. As we move into Saturday, this is where we still have some really dry air moving into Nevada and Utah, and the winds really increase over southern and central areas. So we do have high risk for areas of southern Utah, the Arizona Strip, and southern Nevada. And you can see this is the hot, dry, windy index showing the probability of wind exceeding the 95th percentile. So you can see these winds really strong for the time of year for parts of northern Arizona up into Utah. Looking at Sunday, that dryness continues across especially Nevada and Utah with the lowest relative humidity, but still dry up across Idaho. We don't have high risk at the current time. No high risk going into Monday yet, but we do have another trough of low pressure moving into the Pacific Northwest. So it could trigger some lightning up into parts of Idaho. And you can see up into Montana, already some high risk. So we'll be watching that area in central Idaho, but it's quite a ways out and timing and area certainly could shift. But otherwise, quite a bit of drying over Nevada and Utah. And you can see a lot of areas returning to the brown. And then by Tuesday, a really brown or moderate fire potential in all areas. And we'll continue to watch areas up north for that lightning potential. 7-day total precipitation, not really different than the 3-day, all of that precipitation here falling in the next few days. And then our 8 to 14-day outlook, quite a large area of above normal temperatures across much of the U.S. In the central areas and then back into the Great Basin, and then still below normal precipitation. So just not expecting any deep moisture to move north after these next few days. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.